We're live.
We're live.
Who's
We're
live?
live. I don't have to share it to groups because I already did that.
Nice.
Um, cool. So we're back with our podcast. This is season 2. That's what we're calling it. Season 2 of the podcast. It's a revamp. We did a little hiatus. Um, we would have an intro, but we didn't make one yet. So we're gonna do that at some point, probably before we actually release this episode. Uh, the episode is the evolution of indie comics. So we have 2 guests, and we're going to be talking about that. We have one that's been doing it for a while, and he's been on other episodes of ours and our virtual expo. And we have a new guest that we'll probably be seeing around a lot because um, he wants to join SeerNova, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, let's invite the people. There's Christian.
Hey, hey, hey.
What is up? And there is Kevin.
What's up? What's up?
Hey. If anybody does have questions, you are not at work and you actually are watching, then just ask. And then we'll share them. And yeah.
Try to wait.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's go around the small little room and then we'll get into this. So we'll start with Kevin and then we'll do Christian and then we'll start. So Kevin, what's your little creative journey on how you got into comics?
Well, hey guys. My creative journey started about 2 years ago, actually. I didn't grow up reading comics like a lot of people have, so I wasn't really knowledgeable of what they were. But I recently, 2 years ago, I started hearing about indie comics. And I bought indie comics and I just instantly fell in love with it. I love the imagination, the creative freedom, and writing became my therapy. And so I studied and studied to figure out how can I make my own comics. And it took a lot of time, and I'm very excited, and I'm going to keep going.
Cool. That's kind of my story in a way. Like I didn't read comics in the beginning. I played video games and then I got into comics later from making comics myself. So okay, Christian. We've heard the story a million times, but we can ask it again. How did you get into
No
comics?
worries. I was into comic when I was younger. I was introduced by my cousin back in the day when I was like 8, something like that. And then I got out of the comics when I started to, discover girls and all that jam. And I get back to it something like, 15 years ago. So a friend of mine told me, hey, why don't you read this? I know you would like it, stuff like that. And he gave me Dark Knight. I got hooked because I thought, hey, okay, now comics are serious too. So that's cool. And I've been doing them since 10 years. This is the 3rd edition of the first comic we published back in the day. So, yeah, been into it I don't say a long time. 10 years, not that long, but yeah.
Longer than us. So.
Nice.
Yeah, for many, many years. I have the one that we just finished on last week. That's the 7th book that I appear in. The 4th one we produced. So yeah, kind of complain, man.
Okay, cool. So, this is for both of you, but we'll do Kevin and then Christian. From your perspective, what has been the most significant change in like the comic industry since you began? I know, Kevin, you've only started like 2 years ago, so there's probably not that much of a change, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. What one change I can say, indie comics has been rising a lot faster, even though I just started 2 years ago, because I've seen more indie comics than I've seen the mainstream comics lately. So that's kind of like my perspective on it right now. So yeah.
Cool. And Christian, same question.
For me, the main things that have changed is that now everybody's doing a Kickstarter, crowdfunding, and so all that jam. When I started, the vibe was, hey, why you poor? Why you ask for money? Why you always broke? Why you always asking for money? Wasn't cool. It was kind of seen like begging or like charity or whatever you want to call it, and stuff. So for me, that's the biggest shift. Now, Mark Farling is doing crowdfunding, and Keanu Reeves and this Sanderson guy that broke the fucking things twice. So that's for me the biggest shift that all creators, not only indie ones but major publishers, have finally seen crowdfunding like what it is,
Yeah.
which is a fantastic marketing tool to see what is the real impact and the real demand of a product before launching into the market. And Kickstarter has grown like crazy this 10 years, and a bunch of other platforms have appeared, like Baker Kit and you name it. Now almost in all languages that you can think of. I know that in France there are several, in Spain I know there are several. So that's the biggest thing now. Is everybody who reads comics know what a Kickstarter is, know what a crowdfunding campaign is. Back in the day, that was really an obscure thing. It was seen, as I mentioned before, like charity. So that for me is the biggest shift. Now Kickstarter is cool. Now crowdfunding is cool. Now everybody's on with it. So
Yeah. We started 7 years ago, and when we did our first Kickstarter, people didn't know what that was. So they were like, "What is this? Am I gonna like get my information stolen?" I was like, "No, back my project."
Oh wow. Wow.
yeah.
I have some friends that are like, "I'm not gonna do that because I don't want my card information in certain places," and I was like, "All right, whatever.
Fair. That's fair.
Just buy my
Sure.
comic after it's actually printed." Then,
Yeah, crowdfunding definitely had a negative stigma originally. It was like, how do I know I'm going to get my stuff? And it's like, basically, we all kind of had to wait until Kickstarter had proof that they would back that claim, that they would make sure that people would be protected. And after enough successful campaigns, people now finally trust it. That's why like Indiegogo doesn't have as large of an audience, and other crowdfunding platforms have smaller audiences. It just takes time for them to build that like proof that like you're not going to get screwed.
but they do have a disclaimer on Kickstarter saying they do not, they don't hold anything against them if you don't get the project or whatever, like the product that you're backing. So there is that. But
Yeah.
Wow.
every single one that I've backed, I've gotten. Some took a little bit longer, but ours even took a little bit longer depending on like what series it was. So I understand the whole situation.
Gotcha.
This is for Christian. So you've been doing this for 12 years, 10 years. What are there any like key points or like innovations that have come out that kind of shaped the indie comic scene since like your beginning?
I don't think that a lot of innovation. There's been like fashions trends. There was the years that was very fashionable to have a metal cover. Now it's a lenticular cover. Now it's having variants. It was also a thing for several years. So there's nothing being like innovative. Well, of course, AI came, and I was starting to see the first campaign of AI, but that's like quite recently. That's a change that's been done in a couple of months. So it hasn't changed that much. What I think what has happened is that people are getting more professional and they're getting more serious about it. And at least the people that hang around with, they have 4 companies and they have put money where the mouth is and put on the time and pay attention to stuff like marketing and mailing lists and stats and spending money on ads. So that's what I think has changed. At the beginning was more like, hey, posting everywhere. And of course, also the social media has changed. It was a lot easier to get exposure 10 years ago. Now it's very complicated because, a lot of gatekeepers have disappeared, but that means that the floodgates have been open and then now you are like grasping for attention everywhere. So that's a definitely change, but that's mainly the technological model, And so I don't see a big, haven't been a big change, rather than what I mentioned before. I think of the status now. It's true that the quality of the project have increased greatly. The majority of them now, you don't see as many like aficionado, amateur stuff like you see before. There's still some out there, but the level has really risen progressively.
Yeah.
As people are getting better, and they're getting more backers, and they're able to spend more time and more money developing their campaigns. So the videos have been improved a lot, for sure, for example, and the quality of the whole campaign. So, but not like a huge change. More or less, the platform have been better improved. Now you have the previews now that you didn't have before in the campaigns, and you can put in a video even if the campaign is not live. But that's like very, very recently. It's not something that has been changed, and it's something that it's mainly because of the money that's been poured in on Kickstarter lately. I will say the last couple of years, ever since the pandemic, that's when Kickstarter really, really took off, because everybody was at home and said, "Hey, when I can get entertainment," and then that's when the Sanderson guy came, and the Keanu came, and all the big guns say, "Okay, we're gonna do it through here." And then Kickstarter is like, they don't have a marketing development department that is taking things more seriously, and it looks like they're always done a good job, but now it's becoming more professional. That's the big shift I've seen in the latest years. But that normally comes when the funds come in, when you have campaigns of 10,000 or 100,000 or millions now, like the talk has, for example. Now, of course, that's where we get really serious, and there's a lot of people behind them, and then you're gonna see results, and then you need to hire more people to make it even more manageable. So it makes sense. It makes sense when you pour funds into an area, it's gonna get more professionalized. That's normal. That's nature.
Yeah, there's like Boom, and G.I. Joe was on there.
Yeah, that's always huge.
A bunch more people like shift towards that.
No, it makes sense if it's a very recognizable IP. What was this weekend on a Comic-Con here in Dublin? Then my two neighbors were recognizable IPs. It was a studio that deals with sculpture of Star Wars, and so of course everybody used Star Wars. And then the other guy was doing the Irish version of the Scott Pilgrim, so everybody knew who they were. So me, I have to explain a little bit, but everybody else knew who these two other guys were. So of course, if you have a recognizable IP, that's gold. It's a lot easier to sell. You don't have to explain anything. You say, "Hey," you just show the latest shiny thing that you have. For indies, that takes us time. Okay, It's true that, for example, now, especially in the cons that have been gone a lot, I already have my habitual clients, but that's taking years, and also being able to fulfill and be serious about it, and delivering good quality, and doing it again, because anybody can do one campaign or two. When you have 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, okay, then people say, okay, this guy is for reals. But that's time. That's what it is. Consistency kills talent every time. Beats talent every time.
Yeah,
I
think you're right about like the kind of like the nostalgia factor. It's like whenever you market, you need something familiar so that it's not like just something strange and new. I've mentioned this before on other podcasts that the smartphone was created like a decade before the first one was really purchased. And it was just too new. There wasn't anything to associate it with. But like as we progressively moved closer to what that would look like, even just basic flip phones that had small amounts of access to the internet, people could start to like see what was available. So all of these old IPs that are coming out and going, we have something new. That's the perfect marketing thing. It's something very familiar I can get tied to. That's why nostalgia sells really well. And then they're just saying, hey, but we have a new thing of that thing that you used to like. And it's so easy where indie creators don't have that luxury of them already having something to be familiar with. So it's our job, like when we market, is that we have to somehow tie it to it. So like that's why a lot of the Kickstarters, they'll often say, and I just see Greg posting Mittens in there. We always say like Mittens is like this, right? So we can get them to tie it to something familiar. Or there's a lot of indie comics such as yourself where it's tied to an old IP but created in a new way, like something that is now public domain and just totally altered, right? So now you have something of familiarity to bring people in.
Like Cthulhu, like Travis Gibb just put Cthulhu invades something, and then there's $22,000 that just come out of the air.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably got more now, but yeah.
No, Cthulhu always sells. Cthulhu always sells.
Like
whatever you do with Cthulhu,
I can just do like Cthulhu invades Mittens.
Whatever.
And just
that always sells. It has a very strong IP. No, that's why we took the classical folktales, because we wanted to give something old that people knew, that you don't have to explain who's Red Riding Hood, who's Pinocchio, who is. People know it, but they think, but we have this new thing now, and we took it this way, or we so that's what we did. That was the whole thing behind it, you know. So having something that people easily recognizable, quote unquote, and spinning in a different way. You know, that's and I think that's what America have done since the beginning of time. That's what US does. They don't invent anything. They just take concepts and they put a little bit of marketing and they sell it. Like burgers are not from the US. That's a German thing. You know, French fries are not from the US. It's a Belgian thing. So you do it. You just give it a new spin and say, "Oh, this is ours." Not really.
New spin or new packaging, right? You get like
exactly. It's packaging more flashy. You give it a better picture or whatever.
Wow.
But you haven't really invented. It's like the internet was not invented this day. It was a British guy who invented it. So, etc., etc., etc. You know, there are many examples like that. So, but that's how it works. It's easier if you give something that people are a little bit familiar with, than just having to explain everything from the beginning. Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks more.
Yeah, I like there's some metaphor from some entrepreneur I remember where it's like you let somebody else run in front of you and they take the arrows, and that's where you know, okay, like this path's the right path. So that's why a lot of the best selling stuff is, it's often not just the first stuff, it's actually like the second or third thing, because they watch somebody else attempt it and then they expand on it after.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
This question is for Kevin. You are new to the scene, pretty much 2 years. What kind of obstacles have you been dealing with or dealt with in the 2 years that you've been a part of the indie comic scene?
Well, the first one is figuring out how to write a script. That was my biggest thing when I was figuring out how do I get into comics. And I asked questions. I asked like a million questions, and I said, "Write a script." I was like, "A script like a movie?" They was like, "Yes, but it's in a different format." I was like, "Oh crap! Okay." So I spent like months like writing an outline for like my stories I want to tell, and just trying to find my basis, if that makes sense. And then the next obstacle was what kind of style of art I want. But then I've learned there's a lot of scammers out there, so I was like, oh crap. And then this AI stuff came up. I was like, Jesus Christ, that is ugly as heck. Like, no, no. And I don't like. I'm not the type of person that want to like take the easy way out, as people say it. Like, I actually want to invest in people that actually love their craft. So I'm not picky, but I am picky at the same time. Because one, I want to make sure you're not a scam, and two, I want to make sure I can actually work with you. I like building a friendship before I build a business relationship, because I have to make sure that we can actually be a team and not seem like it's just a one-off thing. Because I'm always about relationship. If you can't work with somebody, there's no point in doing a project. Because you have to. I'm always open to working with people that's open-minded and not just stuck in their own way. That's why I'm always like asking like for feedback on my writing because I know I'm a good writer, but I want to go up a different level, if that makes sense. Because I'm just starting out, I want to make my stories better and stronger, and so that's why I watch like a lot of movies, TV shows that inspires me, and that's what crafted my style in writing. Because I love like Zack Snyder, how his visual effects and stuff is. Um, like I can mix Zack Snyder and James Gunn and make my own thing. So I mix different genres together into making my own type of originality in a way.
Yeah, that's what I use Dylan for. He edits my stuff. All right.
Yeah, there's also that great quote: "Good artists copy, great artists steal." That's Picasso, and one of the big things that really works is like I think this might be a Kanye quote. It's like if you steal from one person, you're a plagiarist, but if you steal for 100, you're a genius. It's like by figuring out all the stuff that you like from all these great works, because these great works had something about them that was good. Then it's so funny too, because even the stuff you don't like, there has to be something that's working or it wouldn't work, like it wouldn't sell. And so that's kind of the idea that if you take all this stuff and you go, I want this piece and this piece and this piece, and you put it together, and as long as you follow like general story writing rules, like as long as you're not just like throwing all the rules out the window, then yeah, you can really come up with something unique and something that again, that whole marketability has to have something familiar in it anyways. So if you don't have anything that's recognizable in there, then yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough to pitch that.
And it's actually funny when you mention about the stuff you don't like. I recently saw The Crow. I was like, oh God, Jesus, that was a waste of 2 hours. But that's a whole different cake. Like
you can see several other people wasting their 2 hours though by letting them know.
Yeah. But I can take like certain bits I liked, like I can do something with that and make it my own. But the pacing, I'm going to be honest, that pacing was depressing. I was like, okay, I'm not going to write that slow. So that was an interesting point when you bring up the dislike. You can make it your own, but in a more unique your style. So that's what I'm such a nerd in like every area, horror, fantasy, comedy, anything. Right, I like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, best part about the movie was walking out of it.
Literally, when I was watching the movie, like 5 minutes into it, I was already falling asleep. Like that's how crazy. Yes, 5 minutes. But then again, I was like, I tried to be nice. I was tired working on comics, but then again, I can't really blame that. I can't really blame that because I watch a lot of other movies that I like, even when I'm tired. So I can't really blame that.
One of my favorite bands, Ice Nine Kills, the singer is like obsessed. He made a song about the Crow. Not this Crow, nice. The original.
Yeah.
And he saw the movie, and then he's like, you guys have to like go in and just not, compare at all. But
like that's the crazy
go watch it.
I didn't compare it.
Yeah. It's complicated when the first one is so good. It's complicated, especially the guy died on it. That's a very high bar to top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe if he. No, I didn't.
I love the actor Bill who plays Eric. I'm like, great actor. They just I agree with other people. They should have They should have did a different Crow. It's like great actor, horrible script. Literally what it is.
Sometimes it's like a misalignment of actors too. Like I was just at like a show that they were doing, like it was for music, and they were performing oldies. And essentially, each of there's like 4 singers, I think, and they kind of or 4 or 5 singers. They kind of cycled through, showcasing old music from like the 50s all the way to today. And there was this one singer who was great, but then he sang one song and it was awful. It was terrible. I'm like, that was not the song for him. He was you can be great, but not be great in a specific role or a specific manner. You know what I mean? Like there's different types of beauty, for example. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways that something can appear great and appear terrible no matter the quality of the initial ingredients. Like you can take the best eggs and the best soap and mix them together. It's not going to taste good and it's not going to clean much. Like it's going to make a mess or it's going to taste disgusting. So you definitely have to get the right ingredients in the right order with the right stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, and not everything is nostalgia, and the problem with nostalgia is a double-edged sword. So it can work against you if you don't know what you're doing. You know, that's especially when the bar is very high, because I was saying it. I was talking with a friend of mine. He was involved in the Alien project, the latest one, the Romulus one.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
I like that one.
well, it's the guy that made the cover for the latest comic. But I even thought he was one of the concept artists of the movie. So normally works only in cinema. And the first Alien is a very high bar to top. So the only guy that who kind of like did it and kind of like outdid it a little bit probably is James Cameron. And for me, after the James Cameron, is this one, the one that Fede did, Fede Alvarez, the Spanish director. But in the middle, even the main that created the first one had a lot of hit and miss. So Ridley Scott, I didn't like Prometheus. I didn't like the other one they did with the
Covenant.
With the Irish actor, the Fassbender one. It was like, oof. So, and he's the guy that created. So it's like his universe. It's like the last the first the 3 chapters of Star Wars. Even the same guy, he had more technology, he had more money on it, but it was like, eesh, you're failing here, you're failing here, you're failing there. And it's also true that your audience grows. It's not the same when you see Star when you're 6 or 8 than when you're 25, when you're 30 or you're 40 like me. So you got to give them more things. So
also, like that, just like nostalgia can work against you, having better technology can work against you. You might use it as a crutch, and I feel like that definitely was a big part of the first 3 not living up to what the original 4, 5, and 6 were like, because they had to like be so creative even to do basic stuff like make sounds and all the designs that they were doing. Like they had to be very creative with what they did, and I feel like that creativity in some of the simple stuff like design probably bled over to even the storytelling. Like I feel like that's a big part of that.
Yeah. No, and it's also when you are hungry, that it's not the same that, hey, well, I even saw, I don't know if you've seen the documentary. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you see it. Lucas created ILM because there was nothing like that around. So he actually had to build the studio, not because he wanted to build the studio, wanted to be innovative. No, he said, hey, I have all these things in my head. I want to see them on the screen. And of course, there was no CGI. Nobody used computers in the 70s to create special effects. So he had to really like, okay, let me find some, it's like what Disney did, the same thing. So let me find engineers, crazy people who want to do crazy stuff. And I'm going to combine that all with the techniques I already have. So stop motion and paintings. And then I'm going to try to do some tricks with some cameras and maybe some miniatures. So they were still that they existed already, but his vision was so far ahead that he had to really assemble guys. Say, hey, help me build this. And of course that company has been the gold standard for years until Beta came and the Lord of the Rings and all that. But until then, they were the top of the food chain, because that's the guys who did Jurassic Park. That's the guy who did, so all these like really complicated movies and they kind of like, before Pixar again, there was no 3D. So it's to have that vision to say, okay, what's gonna push the envelope further? And that comes once in a lifetime, once in a generation. You have to be very. That's for example, for me, that's the real artist. So people are so far in the game that they go, oh, all this that we have been doing. Fuck that. What about this that you haven't seen or you haven't? It's like, for me, Cameron is like that. He's not the best director ever, but he knows where the ball is gonna be. Because he moves it to where he's going to be. So that takes a special kind of skills, for sure.
We have one last question, and we'll ask Kevin first. Uh, you've only been doing this for like 2 years, but you still have some knowledge of this. So like, what advice would you give to like anyone new coming into like the indie comic scene, like as a creator?
First, I would say know what you want to do. Don't come in blind. Make sure you do research on how the comic book is supposed to be structured, and make sure you have a budget and have fun with it. And also just be yourself. Don't try to copy someone else's, if that makes sense. Just tell the story you want to tell, and also don't be afraid to ask for advice because there's people that's done this for years that can give you great knowledge. So yeah, and also be open-minded. So yeah,
Cool.
and make sure you sleep because I sometimes forget to sleep. So yeah,
You forgot. Okay.
I didn't sleep when I first wrote Seer Chronicles. Like that was the beginning
Yeah.
of everything, and I just kept writing, and then I was like, I can sleep after I'm done writing this.
that's literally me right now because I'm up like 5 o'clock in the morning writing scripts and writing outlines and just say I don't want to forget this, so let me put this on my paper on my laptop so I won't forget it, so I come back to it. And like if you can literally see my laptop, I have so many tabs open of different stories. So I'm like, remember to sleep, guys, and drink your water and stay hydrated. But yeah.
And Christian, same question.
Well, two, mastery takes time. So the 10,000 hour rule is out there for a reason. So overnight success takes at least 8 years, 10 years, depending of the person. So don't worry if the first one you don't get that splash, if you don't get that many people backing your campaign. That's the first one. And the second one, if you want to be a professional and this become your profession, not a hobby, not a pastime, or something on the side, you have to treat like a profession, like a job, like seriously. You have to learn your marketing, learn your strategies, take advice from people who were behind you or ahead of you in the road, and just sit down and listen to others, and again, forget about likes, forget about share, forget about, and just concentrate on clients, revenue, what people are more interested in, and try to tailor as much as possible, of course, with being true to yourself, not just this Alan Moore quote is, if the audience knew what they wanted, they wouldn't be the audience, they were the artist. So you have to show what you are working on, but you have to listen to your readers and to your consumers, to your clients. Very important. So those two, patience and taking it as formally, being formal, like do your reading, do the research, pay attention, check the trends, check what everybody else is doing, try to bring something new to the table, and take your time. It's not gonna be overnight. Nobody's expecting you, nobody's waiting for you. So I don't like to call myself, but consistency always kills talent. So forget about being the best, or you're this fantastic artist. No. Consistency. Keep doing it. Keep putting out things there. Listen to the feedback. Listen to whatever the person who buys from you are saying, and build up on that. And with time, you're gonna get it, because there are so many successful people who are hacks. So why not you?
Greg and I are over here like hitting the banners at the same time. Yeah, that's definitely great advice. The other thing too, I was just thinking about while you're describing that too. It's like about the patience too, because some people are like, oh, I'm just gonna like, slowly work on it over time. I'd say one other thing to consider too is like, to invest in yourself. So like Kevin mentioned how he spent a lot of time learning about stuff. Like if you don't learn how to write a script, then when you write your first script, of course it'll be bad. Like if you don't learn how to do it. And definitely you want to make sure that and this is that part of like, the copying great people. It's like, learn from all the greats, study what they do, and then find your greatness within them. Like, like you got to figure out your voice, but you have to copy them first. You have to learn what they did and see if you can emulate it. If you can't emulate them, you're not going to be able to alter it to be yours. And then the other thing too would be, yes, you need to learn and plan and strategize, but I also on the consistency beats talent. The other thing I'd even say is execution beats planning. Like if you could plan forever, but if you never execute, nothing will happen. And very often while you execute, your plan gets broken up. So like the best thing is to have a plan and execute, right? The next best thing is just to execute. The worst thing is to just plan. So don't spend all this time doing massive amounts of research and all this other stuff and never moving forward, because that's definitely what happened with us in the beginning. We spent probably a year just kind of like figuring stuff out, where it's faster to just make mistakes. And the second we started making mistakes, we started creating more stuff faster. Like all of a sudden we started finding people and connecting with it. We just reached out. We were like, how do you do a podcast? I don't know. We'll just start doing it. Right. Like, and just by doing that, we met great people that helped us, overcome stuff. Like, we quote this all the time, or we reference this all the time. The podcast episode we had Ed Jawad on, where he mentioned about, people like to see the action first. They don't care about the origin story of a character they never heard of. You care because you know where it leads. And that immediately, we didn't stick with what we were doing, which was telling like 8,000 origin stories. We leaped ahead and our comics got exponentially better because we took that advice. But if we weren't executing and having a podcast and throwing out comics anyways, even though they weren't the best they could be yet, we wouldn't have gotten that far. So, yes, you can learn and plan, but definitely, run forward.
Yeah, of course, fail. Do as much as possible and learn with it,
Fail fast and learn.
Yeah, and as cheap and as fast as possible. That's how you build up businesses, how you build up legacies is by doing and listening feedback and listening results and tweaking and purchasing and touching here, touching there until you, okay, this is what I want to do,
Thank you, Kieran.
Super fan. Cool.
Sweet.
All right. So, where can we find Christian?
Oh, I'm very easy to find on poptails.com or on popstudio.com. So any of those two, we're now we are pre-sale. The campaign ended last weekend, the 18th, and we're gonna do a couple of weeks of pre-sale. So there are gonna be still some perks available in the Kickstarter and on the studio on popstudio.com. So that's the website. So there we have the previous books and all the cool stuff also there. So very easy to find. Poptails.com or on popstudio.com. Any of those two.
Okay. And Kevin, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Kevin Davis Official, and you can find my comic Arcfire on Find My Comic, and Havoc is also on Find My Comic as well.
Cool. And those links will be in the description. People can check them out, back them, do all that fun stuff.
And Greg, where can people find you?
Everywhere.
All the social media.
At what?
SeerNova Comics.
At what?
SeerNova Comics.
You have the logo there.
SeerNova Comics. Oh, look at that new fancy logo that Dylan made.
It's so pretty.
So and you can also go on Kickstarter. By the time this comes out, there'll be like a day left. Mittens is on Kickstarter, the 3rd issue. You can get all 3 issues if you want. If you didn't ever read it. It is the end of the first plot arc, which is crazy that we already got there.
Wow.
Which, by the way, you can literally just Google like Kickstarter and Mittens, and it's like the second thing that comes up. It's Mittens Space Pilot 1 through 3.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
All right. Oh, and Kevin has a book on Amazon.
Oh yeah, my novel Jacobani is on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, and like I'm like a New York bestseller. Like, oh,
not yet, but it's on Amazon.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos is very happy. He said, yeah, give me. I need another rocket that looks like a penis.
all right.
It's literally Dr. Evil, man. It's so ridiculous. It's like, jeez.
Crochet cat.
America's a parody. It was at the beginning, it was like a dream, but now it's like just like a parody, like a B movie now.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, wow.
ridiculous.
That's why we all wear Crocs. I think that's my favorite. The favorite one that what's the guy's name that wrote Idiocracy? Mike Judge.
Yeah, the Mike Judge, this guy from Beavis and
they-
Butthead. Yeah.
They specifically selected Crocs because they thought they were so stupid that they would never catch on, and they made it so everyone in the future wore them. And now they're one of the most popular shoe brands in the entire country.
Yeah, which is funny because like years ago, people used to make fun of other people that wore them. So.
Yep.
That happens. They're very, very comfortable. My reason was that if nerds use them, they're always on their feet. They have to be comfortable shoes, you know.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm about to give me some Crocs, dude.
Yeah, maybe I'll wear some for comedy.
One of us.
It's like, if you see me wearing Crocs, blame SeerNova Comics.
Oh my God, we need SeerNova Crocs.
I wonder if we can get those printed somewhere.
Dude,
No, you
I
just
would
gotta get
totally
the
buy
pins.
that.
Oh
I
my
would totally buy
God.
that.
For all you guys running Kickstarters, make Croc pins. I'm so mad. I just thought of that now. They have those Croc pins that they put in the shoes. They got like a rubber.
doing that for the next campaign. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm totally doing that. Love it.
Didn't know Crocs were that big.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
so cool. Wow.
And think about it. Whoever likes cats likes Crocs, right? Does Carrie like cracks or cats? Cracks. Carrie's on crack. That's why she likes cats.
Carries
Cats
on
and
Crocs.
Crocs.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, that would be a very highly funded campaign. That one, eh? Kickstarter. Get your crack.
All right.
That's
You will probably sell out. You will probably sell like an
Get your
hour.
crack Kickstarter.
Mittens Croc pins. I love cats. Maybe we will do
You will
that.
probably sell like with like
Trade.
an hour or so.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do that for the trade because that's.
Tell everyone, yeah, all of those fans, yeah, Greg. Yeah, look at this, Craig. Now I'm just putting C's in front of everything. But what's it called? This will be the one episode that blows up, and then everybody takes the idea, and we're like, no.
All right. That was season 2, episode 1 of our podcast. Thank you for coming on, and yeah.
Thank you for inviting me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Man, this was awesome. Thank you for bringing me.
Yeah. All right.